Budget handsets are coming out thick and fast at the minute, and one of the latest to join the party is the Samsung Genio Slide. Now, it looks practically identical to the Genio Touch, and that's mainly because they both sport the same curvy design and funky triangular control pad down at the bottom. The main difference is, though, the Slide is 5mm thicker, and that's thanks to its slide-out QWERTY keyboard, but it still manages to retain a nice skinny frame. Now, for a budget phone, this actually has one of the best and most responsive keyboards we've ever tested, and that's even when compared to pricier smartphones like the Motorola Milestone. The keys are large, give reassuring tactile feedback as you type, and layout-wise it's great as most of the punctuation keys can be used without reaching for that shift key. There's even room for a couple of shortcut buttons for quick access to messaging and the web. Now, sadly, the screen just isn't as impressive. It's 2.8 inches, which is pretty small by touchscreen standards, but I guess that is the sacrifice you make for going for a budget phone. And you really notice this limited space when browsing the web, but at least there's 3G and Wi-Fi on board to make it all that little bit better. Now, the screen itself is resistive, so like a lot of phones of this variety, a little bit of patience will be required. So the inclusion of large icons is a much welcomed feature. Now, it also vibrates like crazy every time you touch it, so I'd recommend turning that haptic feedback down to 0. Okay, so moving on to its build quality, and it feels pretty loose and wobbly when pushed into the main frame. So it's safe to say this probably isn't a phone for longevity, especially if you're going to be chucking it into the bottom of your bag for the entire year. Like its budget counterparts, such as the LG Pop, the Genio Slide packs loads of social networking features, and every top-end social network is there. I'm talking Facebook, Twitter, Bebo and MySpace, loaded from either the TouchWiz sidebar or dragged onto one of the 3 home screens. Now, the widgets themselves could do with being a tad smaller, as they just take up the majority of the page, so if you go for more than 2, it just looks really, really messy. But it's the inclusion of its knockout feature, BBC's iPlayer, that makes this phone a cut above the rest in its category. And to watch the latest episode of EastEnders, you'll need to download it onto your PC before pushing it over to your phone. Now, admittedly, it doesn't have the best screen resolution, but it's good enough to get you through those boring commutes. There's no onboard storage either, but with SD support, you'll definitely be able to store a few hours worth of iPlayer content on your brand new handset. So it's clear the Genio Slide is attempting to take on phones like the HTC Tattoo and the Inkjet 3G, and it does it really, really well, making it one of the best phones in its budget category. Now, this is heightened by the inclusion of the BBC iPlayer, a great keyboard, great connectivity, AGPS, Bluetooth, and a 3-megapixel camera that won't take great shots in the dark, but will more than suffice on a bright and beautiful day. So it bridges the gap nicely between smartphones and budget pay-as-you-go handsets by offering a few smartphone features but at a fraction of the price. So if you're looking to save those pennies but want a phone with a bit of substance, you might want to consider Samsung Genio Slide.